The US government just dropped the alien files. That's right, guys. What you see behind me is a collection of videos and documents regarding the UFO subject, and there is a lot to go over. We're not going to be going over all this because this video would be way too long, but we're going to be going over some of these videos. But first, I saw a video on this exact subject from Decoy Voice that I wanted to watch with you guys because I haven't watched it yet before we dig into all of these videos. Now, I happen to hold this subject very close to my heart. I have been very interested in this topic since I was a wee lad, and I do know quite a bit about this subject. It can probably elaborate more than the average layman on a lot of the things that we're going to be seeing here. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into Decoy's video. I will do my best to explain things in the most understandable way possible, and if you guys enjoy this type of content, you want to see more of this in the future, let me know. I will be glad to make more of this content, and don't forget to smash like and subscribe, all that good stuff. It really matters now to the algorithm. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this video.
Human souls being harvested by aliens sounds absolutely stupid, but stay with me. So did cloud seeding, DEW space lasers, and UFOs, and all of those have been confirmed with a similar slow drip of information.
Okay, but if UFOs are real, then obviously aliens are real too, so it can't be that crazy. They have to have a reason to be here. And there's a lot of theories that have been going on for a very long time that the aliens are harvesting us for a certain reason. Whatever that reason may be, I don't know. I have heard everything from they're recycling our souls, like they go up to the moon, they get cycled and they come back, and there is religions that exist on Earth that do believe in something sort of parallel to that ideology. For example, I believe Hinduism believes in reincarnation, and that would be what, basically what the aliens are doing. Now, I don't know how real that is, but that's a theory. There's also theories that they're drinking our blood, they're harvesting our bodies, our software. I don't know how to explain this in a YouTube friendly way, but they're taking our reproductive parts and using them to make human alien hybrids, which is actually something that representatives in Congress have brought up. Multiple of them have brought it up. Nancy Mace, Matt Gaetz, Tim Burchett. It's been brought up multiple times that the aliens are essentially making human alien hybrids out of us. And the US government's in on it. They're working with them on it. Now, I don't know if we're going to be getting that in the release of these files, but I am going to cross my fingers and hope that we get the real dirty details. There is been whistleblowers coming out saying we have bodies, we have craft. I mean, Bob Lazar came out in the 80s and said that he worked on reverse engineering a flying saucer he called the sports model. There is a lot there with that story. I am very well versed on that one. I have watched probably and read every single piece of Bob Lazar information that I could find because I have always wondered, is this guy telling the truth? And with these files and everything else, the government is kind of soft confirming, yeah, hey, Bob's telling the truth. I think he deserves a little more credit now than he's given. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, he's not actually a physicist. He's not that smart. He's a blah, blah, blah. Some of the stuff he says is like base level physics, stuff like that. And to that I say, what if the guy just lied on his resume and that's how he got the job? And the real reason that he left was actually because the government was catching on to the fact that he didn't actually have his degrees he claimed to have. Because apparently there's video of Edward Teller, the father of the atomic bomb, of him essentially neither confirming nor denying that he did in fact know Bob Lazar.
And if I ask you on camera if you know Bob Lazar, can you just say no? I do see silent.
Which is also the guy who claims, or Bob claims, got him the job at Area S4 at Area 51. And if that's the truth, then maybe Bob was actually telling the truth the whole time. I don't know why. I feel like he's not lying. And I do believe that this sort of is helping to confirm what Bob has been saying all this time. And I'm sure this is definitely a little bit vindicating for him. With that being said, though, there's obviously something here. And at this point, if you don't believe that we're being visited, you're probably the one who needs to go see a doctor.
As today, the US government declassified these unknown flying objects on Earth, but also during the moon landing.
A lot of this footage, like this one, for example, is publicly available footage that's been out for a while. that people have already been asking questions about, which is why this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a soft rollout. But some of this stuff is definitely interesting. And to see the government stamp of approval on it, it definitely brings a new aspect to the situation that people didn't have before, I guess. It brings like a new perspective, I guess you could say.
There were multiple alien sightings, and 4 years before that, NASA knew we weren't alone.
Say again, 7?
Okay, we have several, looks like the 3 up here, actual sighting. It looks like hundreds of little particles going by to the west out about 3 to 4 miles.
Something interesting here is that this is not the only time those little particles have been described by an astronaut. There was another astronaut, I can't remember what his name was, Glenn something like that. He was the first guy, I believe, to go into orbit. And this guy said he saw all these little particles around his space pod as he was orbiting. And NASA eventually just chalked it up to like ice crystals. But maybe they were just lying. Maybe what he saw actually was aliens at the time, or UFOs. I mean, there is, I'm not going to just say, oh, it's just aliens, okay? Because there is a chance from what the whistleblowers have said that these could be like interdimensional entities from different dimensions visiting us. There's also theories that they could be from Earth. Tim Burchett, who has also said that if we knew what he knew on this subject, that the entire country would come unglued, which is ominous to say the least. But there were actually apparently bases, according to him, that were found or allegedly found by the U.S. government under the oceans, in parts of the oceans that we can't really get to, where these beings are essentially camping out, because that would suck. But we're going to cover all of it here on this channel, so stay tuned, because as new files drop and new information comes out that I feel is worth covering, we will cover it. Anyway, let's get back to the video, sorry.
There's an awful lot to unpack here, but the most important aspect is, if you look close enough, they're basically confirming the authenticity of Bob Lazar's stories, which makes it...
I said that earlier. I just got through saying that. It's ironic, but at the same time, Bob Lazar is super popular and is Joe Rogan's most viewed podcast. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised that Decoy brought it up.
His claims back in the 90s, actually quite terrifying, as this is no hoax, but President Trump finally releasing the UFO footage.
We're going to be releasing as much as we can in the near future. Pilots, very solid people, and they said they saw things that you wouldn't believe, so.
With over 30 minutes of clips of nearly 6 decades of encounters, but the more important sightings are of these jellyfish-like flying craft, the thermal scans of wind turbines having ships that defy our physics, and probably most shockingly, the large star shapes shooting through our sky.
Yeah, this is very interesting because I don't know if you guys could see behind it, but it kind of looks like it's leaving some sort of weird contrail, but that very clearly does not look like any craft that we have here on Earth. So I'd love to know what's actually coming out of the back of that.
Now, most of the footage just shows those tic-tac aircraft that so-called conspiracy theorists have been discussing for years. And
hey, what's wrong with Tic Tacs? You know, if that's an alien craft and there's no propulsion system on the craft and it's doing crazy things like going like up to 13,000 miles an hour instantly and then shooting up 80,000 plus feet into space and then down under the ocean, I would say that's a pretty significant thing. I don't think that we should be bashing the Tic Tac, my guy. I think we should probably be taking the entire topic as a whole and treating it with equal respect at this point.
now, seemingly nonchalantly, our own government is confirming, yeah, we've known about this for a while, but we still can't
Let's read this. As for my promise... Oh, sorry, let me do this correctly. As for my promise to you, the Department of War has released the first tranche of UFO/UAP files for the public for their review and study in an effort to complete maximum transparency. It was my honor to direct the administration to identify and provide government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomenon, and unidentified flying objects. Those are the same thing, by the way. Whereas previous administrations have failed to be transparent on this subject, with these new documents and videos, people can decide for themselves what the hell is going on. Have fun and enjoy, President Donald J. Trump.
Explain any of it, which makes me think it's either a distraction from everything else going on, or prepping/testing everybody for the next tranche of information that may be a bit more distressing. As those photos from the moon are all low-res and up to interpretation, but we just...
That one picture, Area 5, kind of looks like a face. I know we already went past it. I was trying to pause on it, but it kind of looks like a face in the sky, which is kind of creepy.
Just went to the moon with brand new 4K footage. So what exactly are they about to show us, and how could it change everything we know about our reality? As seemingly everybody in office with top secret information alludes to, complete transparency on aliens would cause society to, quote, become unglued.
I said that because Tim Burchett said that. I think I said that earlier in the video. That Tim Burchett did say that society would come unglued if we knew what the government actually knew on the subject. Now, the UFOs out by the moon could be some sort of monitoring base where they do the things that the government found out about that would cause us to become unglued. I don't know. But we obviously would have 4K footage. If we have FLIR camera footage from jets and drones and everything, there is a strong possibility that we already have 4K footage. In fact, there are whistleblowers and government officials that have said without a doubt we do have 4K footage of these alien craft or UFOs, whatever you want to call them. There is footage in 4K already. We didn't have to go to the moon for that because they're on Earth already monitoring us and doing whatever they're doing. We just did go to the moon though, and maybe we have 4K footage of the base. I don't know. But speaking of this, I actually was on Twitter and saw a video of the Artemis astronauts standing behind President Trump. And in this video, he actually brings up the UFO stuff. And they stopped and looked at each other. And I had this picture up right. I was actually at the video. But this right here. This is a picture or a screenshot of... I can try to find the video, but I had this up in another tab, so I figured this is fine to show to you guys instead. But you see how they're staring at each other? This is right after Trump said that people have seen things basically in space and that the aliens are here, essentially. He didn't say it that specifically, but he said something about the UFOs. And they both just looked at each other like that, behind each other. And this looks like the face of guilt. This looks like a couple of people who might have seen something while they were at the moon. Anyway, I just wanted to share that little bit of info with y'all. Let's go back to the video.
As first, President Obama basically admitted there's aliens.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51.
Then
He doesn't know that. They probably are. Or maybe not Area 51. Probably Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There's alien bodies, and maybe Fort Detrick. Those are probably the most likely candidate bases. Fort Detrick actually makes the most sense. And I have heard from like online whistleblowers and stuff like that, yeah, there's bodies underground at Fort Detrick. So it's totally possible that that's where they're at. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base also makes a whole lot of sense because that's allegedly the place that the Roswell bodies were brought to after Roswell happened. Supposedly, the craft itself was taken to Area 51, and the bodies were taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, the reason Fort Detrick makes sense is because it's a biological testing facility where medical devices are created. So where better to house alien bodies than one of the 4 prep facilities in the United States that we have that could handle such a task. If they are, for example, bringing some sort of foreign virus or something like that to Earth, it would make a whole lot of sense that you would want to keep them contained and not go rubbing up all on them and, you know, starting COVID-2 or something like that. I guess it wouldn't be that. I guess it'd be space COVID, like spacies.
President Trump wished he didn't speak up.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know,
So aliens are real.
well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. Well, he made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information.
As the original release is just about unidentified flying objects in our skies, which could be our own classified drone technology, foreign spies, or even AI imagery.
Now, AI imagery, no. This footage, I hate when people say it's AI imagery regarding government released footage. For example, the Nimitz footage from 2004, AI was not a thing back then. It was not making AI videos. If the government had that back then, And I'm not saying it's, couldn't have been in like its infancy or something, but they weren't doing it in the way that everybody can today on their phone. It just was not a thing. But we very clearly have footage of objects performing unspeakably crazy maneuvers that we simply cannot do. And if another nation could do it, they would own us. So I don't think it's another nation. It does not make any sense. It is far beyond anything the human race has managed to accomplish yet. So I hate the whole AI thing. Now, obviously, people do make AI UFO footage. That's a thing that people do now, that AI is a big thing in everybody's pocket. But they weren't doing this 20 years ago. They weren't doing it 10 years ago. It just wasn't a thing yet. So as I already pointed out, I don't think that AI is a good answer here. Now, the other things, though, regarding what these things are, whether or not they're from Earth, doesn't make much sense either. Because I think I already, with what I said just now, put to bed the idea that someone like China or Russia, one of those places, has this level of technology. If they did, they would have taken over the entire planet at this point. We wouldn't be able to stand up to them. We have seen these objects quite literally go from sea level or under the sea and shoot up into the sky within like a second. They were already in space. These things are traveling at speeds faster than our fastest rockets. And for a person to be on board of that, or like a human, would be completely just squished. The G-forces would destroy their bodies. So I don't think that this is anything that Earth has, or anything that AI cooked up. There's definitely an external force here operating these craft. Now, you can have your theory on what you think it is, whether it be aliens or angels, demons, whatever. Whatever you think. Ultra-terrestrials, interdimensional entities, I don't care. But let's just come to the obvious conclusion here and set a ground rule that obviously, whatever these things are, they are not from this planet. That much is obvious, and they're definitely not AI. That they're not AI.
But Obama said aliens, and if that was a lie, then what is he sharing that's classified? Meaning they're...
He did say aliens, actually, so it's probably aliens. I mean, I don't know if I trust Obama that much, but I mean, yeah, at the same time, I don't know why he'd lie about it. I mean, I just don't really see what the point of that would be, other than to force Trump's hand to disclose the stuff, maybe. I don't know. I mean, really, Trump didn't have to do any of this, but he was already going to do it. And I've also basically looked into this enough to know that the president, without doing serious digging, would not have access to most of this stuff. There's a lot of bureaucrats, according to Tim Burchett, that have said that the president is on a need-to-know basis. He doesn't need to know about a lot of this. He might have like a brief overview, but he doesn't actually know. And even though that like all the presidents prior to Trump, the first thing they did was run to the UFO files and try to find out what's going on, those guys didn't answer the questions when they were asked, hey, what'd you see? They said that they didn't see anything. Clearly that was a lie. But also, I don't think that they're being shown the real meat of the situation. I think there is definitely more going on with, for example, like our experimentation, reverse engineering alien craft and the bodies and all that other stuff. There is very obviously something there. Now, I remember an email I saw that Christopher Mellon released between him and somebody at the DoD that were talking about a UFO that was picked up as a present, basically, or a gift from the ETs in Kingman, Arizona back in the 50s. And it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, most of the craft that we have are either not actual crashes or were basically just given to us as gifts. Now, it's also possible, from what I've heard, that the radio and EMF frequencies could have disrupted their navigation technology on the ships. But again, that's getting into speculative waters. I'm going off of what was said by people who would have more information than I do on the subject, where they said that it's more likely that they were just given to us as presents for some reason. Whatever it is, clearly the government has had contact with them, and it almost seems likely that the government has contact currently with them and basically is being controlled by them. And if that's the case, I swear to God, if this turns out to be lizard people or reptilian aliens controlling everything, and the crazy shapeshifters from the early, or shapeshifter theories from the early 2000s, where everybody was saying that all these crazy rich celebrities were lizard shapeshifters, if that turns out to be correct, and the Illuminati really is some kind of crazy lizard cult, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I can't do anything, but it's still gonna piss me off. Anyway, enough of this.
They're definitely hiding something else. As on the Joe Rogan podcast, members of Congress have constantly confirmed we are not alone.
Like, what kind of evidence have you seen?
I have seen photos. I have seen...
What have you seen photos of?
So I was in a skiff, and I can't discuss...
For those of you who don't actually follow this subject regularly and don't know what a skiff is, a skiff is a compartmentalized information facility, or secret compartmentalized information facility, where the U.S. government, it's basically like a room where you're not allowed to bring any technology in. You have to have classified documents like handcuffed to your arm and all this stuff. You go in there, and it's a room to make sure that there's no bugs on the wall. And by bugs, I don't mean literal insects. I mean, like, listening bugs. Things like that, to make sure that anybody who's not supposed to hear this classified information doesn't hear that information. That's what a skiff is.
Discuss all that was in a skiff, but what I can tell you is based on the photos that I've seen, I'm very confident that there's things out there that have not been created by mankind.
Did I say secret compartmentalized information facility? Sorry, I meant secure compartmentalized information facility. That's my bad. I misspoke. I mean, I guess either one kind of could still work, but yeah, it's secure, not secret. My bad.
I was actually able to ask some of the witnesses, what are these things? And they keep saying interdimensional.
And just 36 minutes after the UFO files were released, Representative Luna randomly posted a biblically accurate angel, which is...
Yep, that would be a biblically accurate angel. Indeed. And I actually, okay, this is gonna sound crazy. I had this conversation with my mom. My mom is like super religious, and she thinks or thought that the whole alien thing was all just like, oh, they're demons or whatever. And I showed her a picture of a biblically accurate angel because she had never seen it, and she was like, oh, that is not what I expect that to look like. And if you really think about it from the perspective of ancient peoples, if they were to see that, would they think that that is an alien? No. Especially not if the beings are performing crazy miracles with their technology and they for some reason would like to keep us under control. But that is allegedly what they look like, according to like the Bible. And I don't know, maybe that's actually what's going on here, is they're pretending to be our God. And that may be why the government thinks that society would come unglued. They have basically pretended to be God, and maybe this is implying there is no God to some degree, or maybe they really are God. I don't know. That would be even crazier, and I hope that's not true, because that would just be ridiculous. But I don't know, guys. You can make whatever you want out of that, but interdimensional entities could still also be aliens. For example, let's just say that their form of travel, instead of coming in a straight line from a place like, say, Zeta Reticuli, which is allegedly where some of these beings come from. Let's just say they came to Earth from Zeta Reticuli. They may not have come here in a straight line. They may actually have technology that lets them travel through other dimensions. You could even argue, I guess, that by folding gravity in on itself, which is another thing that Bob Lazar kind of said that these UFOs can do, is they essentially will make a gravitational bubble around the craft and fold it in on itself to help them like fall to their destination. Maybe by doing that, they are technically traveling through dimensions, and that would sort of also make the term interdimensional entity correct. And if that's the case, they could actually be both at the same time.
Is in line with Congresswoman Green saying similar things.
And I believe those could be fallen angels.
All these things could be
fallen angels.
Yeah, fallen
The
angels.
aliens are fallen angels.
That's possible. I think that's what they could be.
That doesn't even make sense, though, if you look at a biblically accurate angel. Why would fallen angels okay, this is the thing that I don't understand. If they were fallen angels, why would they need technology to travel? Okay, even if it is super advanced tech, why would they need it? Why would they need a craft to fly around in? That part doesn't make any sense to me. Because if, like, okay, in the Bible, for example, now I'm a lot more brushed up on the Old Testament than the New. I've read the Bible several times over, just as a thing to do when I was way, way younger. But I've read more Old Testament than New, and the reason that I would be aware of this more, I'm not even going to say, because I'm just going to catch flack. But long story short, it says in the Bible that the devil can roam to and from the earth. Okay? So if the devil or devils, they can't be everywhere at once like God. That's what the Bible says. If the devil can roam to and from the earth, why would the devil need a flying saucer to do that? For what purpose? Why wouldn't they just fly around the earth with their powers that they would clearly have to have as angels, because they would be divine beings? Even though, now that doesn't sound correct, obviously. You say the devil's a divine being. Well, yes and no. He's technically not a divine being, but he was an angel at one point before he fell from heaven. Therefore, he would have to have at least divine properties. I guess you could say he has powers that humans don't have. That's what I mean by divine. I'm not saying he's really divine or he's, a god or anything like that. Obviously, he's not. He's the devil. But I'm just saying he would have the power to do things that humans cannot do. Like, fly around, things like that. There is no reason that he would need a flying saucer to do that. I would imagine that the devil would either, if he doesn't have wings, could probably just fly around like Goku or Superman if he really wanted to, because it would be the devil. I would imagine that he would have that power. And I would imagine that God could do even greater things. But then you also have to beg the question, if these beings are, and there's a lot of things that point to them not being angels or whatever, not in the real sense of the term, or even fallen angels. If they really were this, let's just do a thought exercise. Why show up as aliens? Why not show up as actual demons? Why not spread your message as that? Why would the U.S. government be working with them in the first place? And if that's the case, then where is God in all of this? Who is God? How is God in, obviously God would, according to the Bible, be lying this stuff, but like, why would God also have entities that are very similar to what ancient peoples would look at and probably see as an angel today, but we would look at and think that kind of looks like an alien, like a biblically accurate angel? Because the Bible is describing them as good beings. Are we now questioning the Bible? Are we questioning the beings? Where does this begin and end? That's the problem. We're putting ourselves into a circle of religious text nonsense of trying to decipher who is who. How would you even tell the difference between an angel and a fallen angel at that point? I don't understand it. Like, if they can clarify, if there's documents that come out that clarify on this, that explain what these things are, and they really are fallen angels, then I'll believe it, and I'll eat my words. But I just don't believe that these are fallen angels. I think these are legitimate aliens, and maybe they pretended to be angels or something at one point throughout history, and they've been here a very long time, and maybe they really are doing something with us, or maybe they are fallen angels, and maybe the rapture is about to happen. I don't really know. But I'll let you guys decide on your own what you think it is. There is so much that we could theorize on this. It could just go on forever.
That's what makes sense in my worldview.
Now, I'm not gonna get into confirmation bias, especially since they've seen things that we haven't yet, or may never see, but what I'm leaning more into believing is something buried deep between the lines, as Congressman Burchett's interviews may shed where to actually look.
I mean, this thing's been covered up at least since 1947, and I just don't think
if you listen to what Dave Grush said, it's been covered up since at least 1933 when allegedly Italy got their own UFO and we took it from them. Apparently after Mussolini went out of power, we came in and scooped up a UFO that Italy had gotten, and then that's where this all started. But there's a lot of incidents that supposedly happened. There's Maury Island that supposedly happened before Roswell. Like there was also the first sighting that happened before Roswell. There's a lot of incidents that have allegedly happened. And if you don't know what Maury Island is, there is a case in history where, like a month before Roswell, this guy who was on a fishing boat with his dog saw these UFOs fly overhead, and they dropped molten slag out of one of them. It landed on the boat in the waters and everything. He collected some of the metals. Then he tried to give it over to the army for some reason. Then Men in Black supposedly stepped in and took it, and then made him change his story and say he lied about what he saw. There's a whole thing there. That's a whole story. I'm not going to go over all the details, but there's a lot. So there's definitely other incidents before Roswell, but maybe Roswell really was like the first time that we got a craft, if what David Grush said, the first UFO whistleblower to come in front of Congress. Not the first whistleblower at all, but like the first to actually legally come in front of a congressional hearing and say all this stuff. If what he said was wrong, then, and it really was Roswell, great. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The point is that we have it to begin with.
They don't give up that easy.
They are considering disclosure, and that there have been visits of these super intelligent beings from somewhere else, that we have retrieved crashed vehicles, and that we have biological remains.
That's correct.
And we are talking about disclosing, and every one of them said the negatives far outweigh the positives in terms of the impact on government, the impact on the economy, religion, all these different factors, and how it would disrupt society. And in the end, they decided not to disclose.
Yeah. Allegedly, when they told Jimmy Carter, he cried.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah.
This guy right here is my favorite congressman, by the way. Just wanted to put that out there. Tim Burchett is like the GOAT of Congress right now, in my opinion.
It was. I won't go into all of it, but I was in a meeting.
What would make him cry?
I don't know.
Which is this?
At least when it comes to this topic, anyway. But yeah, Jimmy Carter crying, crazy to think of. But supposedly Eisenhower made a deal with these beings, and then started this entire program called Majestic 12 and all this stuff. There's so much lore to this, dude. There is so much lore that we could dive into. If you guys want like an entire series of just lore on this topic, where we just go over all of the publicly available lore, we could do that. We could go over Project Blue Book's cases. We can go over all that stuff in the future. Obviously, it's not going to be the only thing I post. I'm going to keep posting my normal content. But as new stuff comes out and new lore drops, we could definitely treat this like a lore dive, as like, you know, whether it be like comparable to watching like, you know, anime lore or something like that. We're gonna consume all of the alien lore, because I don't know if any other VTubers is even gonna do that. So I think it's a cool idea.
This common theme claiming they know more than us. That scares them, but there's still something else they're hiding. As Rogan brings up Bob Lazar.
The Bob Lazar episode of this podcast is the most viewed episode that I've ever had on YouTube.
Is that
Holy
right?
crap. That's a lot of views. 66 million views. Wow, Trump came in second at 62 million. Don't get me wrong, I've actually watched that Bob Lazar podcast more than once, because I really like listening to what Bob has to say. I just like to listen over all of it. And you can have your opinions on Bob. I don't care. I still like to listen to the story. I think it's a very interesting story. I believe he's at least mostly telling the truth. You can have your opinions on Bob if you want. I don't care. You can call me stupid in the comments because I believe him. Whatever. I really don't care. I have spent so much time digging into him, trying to come up with whether or not he's telling the truth. I have seen things about Bob that you have probably never even knew were out there. There was, for example, another nuclear physicist that claims to have seen Bob working at Los Alamos, that was said on record that he saw him there, that he was a physicist. There's a lot of information that is out there outside of just the typical stuff that we all know about from George Knapp. There's a lot. Now, whether or not you believe him, totally different story. You don't have to. You're welcome to have your own beliefs here. I don't mind that. You can totally think that Bob's a liar. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. But in my personal opinion, I think that he's at least mostly telling the truth. There's things that I don't believe that he says, like certain small details that I think are fabricated in a story, and maybe I'm wrong. But for the most part, after really analyzing the crap out of it for a very long time, I've come to the conclusion that I think he's mostly telling the truth. And a lot of what he says is lining up in coming true. I mean, even the way that these craft fly. There is a video from one of those first three FLIR footages that we got, where we can actually see the craft flying in the same way Bob said it would. He said it would go on its side and fly belly forward, and that's quite literally what we see in that footage. And the pilot who caught the footage says it's rotating as it's turning to go fly forward. So you're welcome to think what you think, but there is definitely a lot more starting to confirm what he said than what he said being a lie. I mean, even in the new documentary that he came out with, he was able to tell the physics inside of the UFO with the lighting. Like he said, like it was dark in there, and they put in like a super bright light and it was still dark. And apparently Luigi, the guy who helped make the documentary, was like, that doesn't make any sense. He goes and he makes it. Bob was right. He was also right about perspectives at S4, how things would have appeared out of his own memory, like how many hangars down he was able to see, things like that. I really recommend you guys go watch the documentary because there is a lot to unpack with that, but I do think Bob's most likely telling the truth, at least about working at S4 and seeing the crafts.
It's just talking about how he used to work at S4, Area 51, Site 4, where he was back engineering UFOs.
Right. You got to figure he's the one that escaped from all of it and is still alive. And somehow
Yes.
he got out and was able to do it before they could silence him.
He went public because he was afraid they were going to kill him. Because the initial one, he gave a fake name and he was a silhouette and he told his story, but then his home got broken into, his car was getting broken into, he got shot at on the highway. It got real weird, and so he said, look, I've got to go public. Like, it might be the only way to protect myself, and he told the whole story.
And align that with Burchett's other statement.
Because I've been briefed by just about every alphabet agency there is. And I'll just tell you this, if they would release the things that I've seen, you would stay up, you'd be up at night worrying about or thinking about this stuff. We just need to disclose it all. As I was briefed last week on an issue, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago, and it would have set the earth on this country would have come unglued, I think, if they would have heard all that I heard.
So UFOs are real.
So, what do you guys think this is? Are they harvesting us? Are we on a prison planet? What do you guys think is going on here? Do you guys think if we actually hear about all this stuff, what's actually going on, that all of society will just come to a complete stop and everything is just gonna be different from here on forward? Maybe we're gonna start prepping to fight the alien threat. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna invade us. Who knows? It could be coming any day, I guess. Who knows? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're just going to invade and take over our planet and turn us into literal slaves. Or maybe the container theory that Bob Lazar said is correct. I don't know. But what I do know is that there is definitely something strange happening. And if there is aliens here that are experimenting on us or keeping us prisoners or whatever, are you going to go to work tomorrow? Or are you going to continue to function and do your daily life the way that things have been? Will society continue to go, or will it stop and collapse after we learn all this information? I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that, at the very least, there will be a lot of angry Twitter posts, at most. Okay, at least, hopefully. I don't know. Man, there is just so much here. I don't actually know what's going to go on, but I'm definitely ready to sit back and watch, because personally, I just don't know if I care about their agenda, because we're all going to die one day anyway. So should I really care? I mean, I'm glad to know that they're here and everything, but should we really be scared? Probably, especially if they're harvesting our souls. Then that just means if we die that we're just going to be eternally tortured or something by these entities. I don't know. There's just so much to think about, guys. And I hope that I have started some brain worms in your skulls and got the noggin to start jogging and thinking about what's happening here just a little bit, because maybe do your own research into the topic and come to your own conclusions. Everybody comes to a different one for the most part, so you could look at this and think it's totally different than what I think, and I mean, I'm sure people will find a reason to fight over it, but it's definitely crazy to think about, and it could be scary, or it could be nothing. Who knows?
Real, with footage of physics that grants Bob Lazar's stories more credibility, and our congressmen are saying, should me and you know the truth, society would become unglued. And what exactly would do that? Maybe what Lazar shared back in the 90s.
There is an extremely classified document dealing with religion, and it's about that thick. Period. But why would there be any classified material dealing with religion? It's so far out.
All right, your objection has been noted.
Okay.
What does it say?
That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers.
Containers of?
Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers, and that's how we're mentioned in the documents. That religion was specifically created, so we have some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers.
And if you know me, you know
So, I brought that up earlier because he showed on screen the thing about the containers, but also, just to clarify, Bob also didn't believe half of what he was reading in those documents because he figured that some of that was put in there just to be fake on purpose, just in case he were to spill any of that information, then they would know that he was only told this crazy bit of information, so it has to have been Bob that did it, or, that's something that apparently the government would do, according to Bob. So, and they probably do. But at the same time, if it turns out that that information is correct, that is kind of a big deal. And that could very well be what these Congress people are alluding to. They could be alluding to the fact that we are some kind of, containers with souls being harvested by these entities for something. Maybe we're powering something, or I don't know. Maybe none of this is, I don't know. I don't want to get into anything too crazy, but we don't want to go too far out in the weeds with this one. But there's definitely some very interesting things to unpack with it that I think would be interesting to learn if the government gets to the point where they want to tell us about it. And I hope we get there, because if it's something that's serious, I don't care if it destroys society. If it's the truth of reality, we deserve to know about it. We do. Why should we live a lie? I mean, I get this is like, you can make the reference to the Matrix here, or you want to take the red pill or the blue pill, I guess. You could say like, oh, well, if you take the red pill, you get to learn all of what reality actually is. And if you take the blue pill, then, you stay in the simulation. And if that is the case, maybe the Matrix is actually more real life than we thought. Maybe all of us are actually in a simulation right now. And maybe it's possible that that movie was actually more close to the truth than we thought. Maybe all of us are currently sitting in pods, just like maybe we were already taken over by the aliens and we're all sitting in pods or something like that. I don't know. It's probably not what it is, but it could be. That's the thing. There's so much here to unpack. Like, until the government tells the truth, we just can't know. And for all we know, the government could be being ran secretly by these aliens, and the aliens are now deciding to tell us the truth for some reason. I don't know. Guys, there's going to be more information in the future, so get your affairs in order. I'm kidding. Don't go that far. It'll be okay, guys. It'll be okay. Don't freak out.
I enjoy a great tinfoil hat theory, even selling one on my website. Well, conspiracy theories are supposed to be fun, not confirmation that the X-Files episodes about alien-human hybrids, US government cooperation, and human souls being harvested for alien consumption is just known information within top-secret circles.
Guys, conspiracies are quite literally just spoilers. Not all of them are true. Sometimes you get fake spoilers, just like with One Piece, where a spoiler will come out and somebody will make up some nonsense and then people will be like, is this real? And then it's not. But a lot of these conspiracies, the ones that make sense, if there's a lot of evidence to back it, you could probably assume there's probably truth to it. And it turns out the X-Files was just a preview for what was to come. Did any of you think 20 years ago that any of this was going to come out? Did any of you even care past watching the occasional ET related movie about this topic to this degree? Because most people probably didn't. There were a lot of people that were interested in the subject. A lot of people. So it's not like we didn't know something was going on. We had evidence supporting it. There was just a stigma from the government to make us not talk about it. If you brought this up on the mainstream media, on the news, it was usually laughed off by the people hosting the news show, because people just wanted to make it out to be crazy woo-woo nonsense. And you could chalk that up to Project Mockingbird, which is an entirely separate thing that the U.S. government, the CIA, has done by keeping CIA agents on media payroll to get information that they don't want, or they do want out there, peddled to the public or taken, and debunked. But regardless of all this, there were people 20, 40, 60 years ago that were theorizing that aliens were here and had all these crazy theories, and a lot of them are proving to be true. Don't discount conspiracies because the word is stigmatized to be crazy. It's not. Conspiracies, again, are probably mostly just spoilers for what's going to happen in 6 months to 20 years from now.
I even feel foolish sharing this out loud, coming from a guy that sells this stupid hat. But honestly, what else do you think it could be? And why does everybody with that extra layer of knowledge seem to suggest the same exact thing? So actually, let me know your theories below, and if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality.
Okay guys, so that was Decoy Voices video. Good video. Go over, subscribe to Decoy after you're done with this video. Check him out, all that stuff. I'm sure most of you probably already have. He's a big YouTuber. Now, I want to go ahead and we could take a look at some of these UFO files that we have here. And I'm not going to go over all of them, as I said. That would take way too long. But we can watch a couple of them and just see what the government has been filming, because I'm sure some of these are crazy. Now, obviously, I have not really watched any of these to know which is which here, but we'll start with number 1, and we'll go until I decide, that the ancestors have said stop. Now, let's see what we got. Can you guys see this? I gotta make sure you guys can actually see the footage. That looks a little bit tiny. Why is it so small? Whoa, that's too big. Okay, this will have to do, I guess. We'll just start with this. Okay, you see you see the dot flying around? Apparently this was captured in the Middle East in May of 2020. See, it's just floating around right there. Just flying around. And for those of you who don't know, this is gun camera footage. So the military filmed this, obviously. And you may think, well, this is kind of boring. It's just a dot floating around. But when you realize that this thing is, turning on dimes and obviously not supposed to be there and everything, it does become a little bit strange, I guess you could say. It does suck that this footage is, like, FLIR, though, because you can't see details. You just see it's a white dot. And I imagine if we could see details, it would be a lot more astounding, because the government wouldn't probably be keeping it. But you could tell even in the footage that it's glowing white hot. Whatever it is glowing. It's very hot. And it's also kind of annoying, by the way, that they redacted all this stuff. I know they have to because it's a classified system, but I mean, all of the redactions do keep, like, making it cut in and out every time it goes behind one of the black bars. But yeah, whatever this is, definitely weird behavior. Now, you also need to remember that whatever's filming this, I believe it's a drone. If a drone is filming this, it's having to, like, stay locked on and fly beside whatever this thing is. I'm sure we're zoomed in at this point. Yeah, we're zoomed into it now. You can definitely see it a lot more clearly than before. But whatever it is, it's definitely weird shape. Do you see wings or anything like that? Because if you... Let me explain something about the FLIR. If this thing were a conventional aircraft, it would look like a conventional aircraft despite the FLIR. All right, let's go to the next one. What do we got here? Another dot flying around up there. Those are clouds. I don't know where it went. That's the end of the clip. This is the thing that's annoying about the FLIR footage, though, is most of the time you just see dots, but sometimes they've released things like the chandelier UFO that were obviously crazy to look at. Look at this. This thing's just zooming back and forth. Now, maybe you could say this could be some parallax. I don't know, but I don't think it is. I really don't think that this is all parallax. There's obviously got to be some sort of, like, let's see how it's zooming out. We're locked on and it's trying to zoom out of the frame, and both things are moving, the craft and whatever we're filming from right now. This is over Greece, by the way. But yeah, this thing is just doing whatever it wants to. Like, we don't have aircraft that do this. Like, we can't, like, go back and forth and stuff like that, like the way that this thing is doing. It's just turning on a dime. It's obviously just crazy maneuvers that we don't do. Our planes simply can't do this. Maybe it doesn't look as crazy as you're expecting, especially not in FLIR. I imagine if this is in 4K, it would be better to watch. But this is still astounding in the sense that we don't have things that can do what this thing is doing right now. I'm not sure where it went. Is it going to come back? I kind of want to skip through just to see if it's going to come back or not. Oh, wait, is it still there? It's in... Oh, it's in the crosshairs. That's why we can't see it. It's so tiny in the crosshairs. Okay, I don't think that we're really going to be able to see a whole lot from this one, so let's move on. Okay, now that was pretty obvious. Did you guys see that? This is short, but, like, it's right here. It's just flying across. One more time. Yeah, it just floats across up here. Now, that's pretty crazy. What is that? Let's see if we can figure out what the heck we're looking at. Probably not, because it's terrible camera quality. It's FLIR footage, so what can you expect? See, it looks like a little red... It looks like... Why is it red? I guess because it's super hot. It's, like, elongated a little bit. You can kind of see as it's going across. It looks like it's, like, almost like a humanoid-type figure coming across. Okay, we're moving pretty quick through the clouds right now, it looks like. Oh, wait, there it is. There's the UAP. There's the dot right here. Man, it is... I assume that was parallax, sort of, because the way it was going back and forth a little bit. Oh, man, now it's gone. Well, we stopped, it looks like, but yeah, it just kept going. I guess that shows that the thing, obviously, whatever it is, was moving as well as us. So both things, the camera and that's following it is moving, but so is the object, because it just zoomed off at the end. Okay, there, it's just flying across the sky right there. Whatever that is. This is a short one. I don't think that one was that spectacular, but, you know, that one could be anything. Okay, what are we looking... Oh! Did you guys see that? Right here, look in the corner. Oh my god, that thing's fast, dude. One more time. Goes... It's just fucking really fast, dude. That was quick. Is the drone trying to lock onto it now? Okay, no, I guess it's lost. It's gone. Whatever it was going really fast. We got a floater. Just hanging out a little bit. Just hanging around. Okay, nothing spectacular for that one. Okay, now that was pretty neat. What was that? Let's see if we get... No, I want to pause on it. It's not letting me. Why can't I pause on it? Go back. Man, come on. Let me pause on it. There it is. It's just like a black rod. It almost kind of looks like this one might have some kind of propulsion trailing behind it, but I don't know. It's very weird looking. It could just be the image itself from the FLIR, making it look like there's a trail behind it, but it definitely looks like some kind of rod, or a cigar-shaped UFO, which are things that have been spotted for a very long time. See what else we got. These are documents. Do we have any more videos? Let's read one of these documents. I don't know what they say. Let's see if I can read one of these to you. Can I make this bigger? It says unclassified. All right. Let's see. What does this say? Is there anything interesting here? Embassy, January 28th, received informal... Well, actually, what is this going from into? Hold on. Who is this even for? Embassy, Port Moresby? Okay. Papua New Guinea, inquiry, RE overflights. Okay. Embassy, January 28th, received informal inquiry from PNG National Intelligence Organization, NIO, concerning reported sightings of high-altitude, high-speed aircraft over PNG during the evening of January 24th. Matter came to NIO's attention when its officer in Wewak reported local residents have been frightened by overflights, which led to provincial premiers calling of a public meeting on the subject, attended by the Prime Minister, who was weekending in his electoral district. NIO said there have been various reports of unidentified aerial phenomenon the night of January 24th, including fast-moving objects with lights, contrails, limited official use, what does that mean? And noise. Oh, sorry, I guess this wasn't supposed to be read as part of it. The report, in which NIO places some credence, originated within air New Guinea pilot who had just taken off from Wewak, I'm probably butchering that, I guess Wewak, en route Port Moresby. Pilots said his radar picked up aircraft flying south to north at high altitude and high speed when he was over anagram Vic 4. Okay, I think this is like, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Several visual sightings of contrails were also reported from various points around PNG, one of the aircraft moving north to south at 1900 local, and of 6-8 aircraft traveling south to north at 2200 local. Based on our records and telecom, God, I can't talk right now. With 43 SW, we have told NIO we knew of no B-52 overflights and no U.S. aircraft in PNG airspace on January 24th. Although information provided us on these sightings is very sketchy, I think they meant to put provided to us on these sightings is very sketchy, and sources were unsure of the directions in which aircraft were flying. We would most appreciate confirmation of Para 3 above and any light you might throw on these reports. What else we got? Anything? That's it? I guess that's it for this one. That was kind of interesting, I guess. Talking about stuff they saw over Papua New Guinea. What's this one? More stuff for the embassy. Tajik Air Chief Pilot AMCIT Ed Rhodes, or AMCIT Ed Rhodes. I guess I'm not sure what's acronyms here and what isn't. Some of these, I'm not sure. And his 2 American pilot colleagues reported January 29th that on January 27th they had encountered a UFO while flying at 41,000 feet in their Boeing. Unclassified. Okay. I'm not reading all that. 747 SP at latitude 45 north and longitude 55 east over Kazakhstan. They first encountered the object as a bright light of enormous intensity approaching them from over the horizon to the east at a great rate of speed and at a much higher altitude than their own. They watched the object for some 40 minutes as it maneuvered in circles, corkscrews, and made 90-degree turns at rapid rates of speed and under very high Gs. Captain Rhodes took several photos with a pocket Olympus camera and will send copies to the embassy and to the Tajikistan desk, Lowry Taylor, in the department if they come out. After some time, the object adopted a horizontal high-speed course and disappeared over the horizon. As it was dark when the object was observed, the crew were unable to discern its shape. They described the light it emitted as having a bow wave and as resembling a high-speed photo of a bullet in flight, in which a very small object gives off a much larger trailing wave of heat/light. Some 45 minutes after the initial sighting, as the sun was rising, the aircraft flew under the contrails which the object had left behind. The plane was making over 500 knots. Rhodes estimated the by the way, for those of you who don't know, 500 knots is pretty close to 500 miles an hour, just in case you didn't know. Rhodes estimated the altitude of the contrails at approximately 100,000 feet. That's crazy. That's really high, guys. That's like, that's you're getting close to getting to space. You're not quite there yet, but you're getting there. Noting that there is too little air/moisture at that extreme altitude to enable the creation of contrails. Allegedly, the highest flying airplane that we have only goes to like 80,000 feet, by the way, because that's just how physics works. By the propulsion mechanism, not counting like rockets and stuff. We're talking like normal, like spy planes and things like that. If you want to talk like, spacecraft like rockets and stuff, obviously that's a separate story altogether. Clearly we can go to space. Or was I? At that extreme altitude, to enable the creation of contrails by the propulsion mechanics of ordinary aircraft which might be able to reach that height, the paths of the contrails reflected the maneuvers of the object, i.e. circles, corkscrews, etc. Oh shoot, I lost my spot. What did I do? To our suggestion that the object might have been a meteor entering and skipping off the Earth's atmosphere, Rhodes and his crew were adamant that they had seen thousands of falling stars and other space junk entering the atmosphere in their years of flying passenger aircraft for Pan Am. This, they insisted, was nothing like a meteor. On the basis of its speed and maneuverability, Rhodes expressed the opinion, which his crew seemed to support, that the object was extraterrestrial and under intelligent control. Okay. 4. Comment. We have no opinion and report the above for what it may be worth. Okay. That's crazy. All right, I don't want to just sit here and go over all these documents. If you guys want a video where we do that, we could totally do that. But for now, I think we're going to leave it off here. And when new information comes out that's worth covering, obviously we'll cover it. Let me just make sure there's no other interesting pieces of footage, though, that we could look at. Because maybe we missed something. I don't know. We watched all these. Okay, we saw this. That's the NASA stuff. This is like a drawing that the government had for some reason, some kind of composite sketch. I'm fairly certain somebody just saw this. I'm not sure what the story was. I have to go back and look into it. Oh, what do we got here? Is this photo? I don't see anything in this photo. I don't know what I'm looking at. Okay, this you could clearly see something that kind of looks like it could be a helicopter, but I'm not really sure. FBI submitted a report of unidentified aerial phenomenon to... Okay, this is from Arrow. Okay, yeah, that's definitely weird. That's a weird one, whatever that is. Yeah, these are strange. But are there more videos? Unless one of these photos shows something actually crazy. Okay, that kind of looks like two things flying side by side. That's an interesting one. Yeah, these are the NASA photos we saw again. But is there anything, like, crazy here that... Something crazy that we could look at? I mean, a lot of this stuff in general is crazy. Oh, we got another video. What is this? Oh, we got audio. It's a lot of static. Why is this 5 minutes long? Oh, my... Oh. Well, what the heck was that?
Alpha Alpha, call Bahrain East 132.12. 132.12, Hotel Alpha.
Apparently this is in the Middle East. What are we waiting for? There's a ship. But what else is there? Is there something I'm not understanding? Oh, wait. Is there some... No, there's a little dot. Okay, I see it now. It's over the water. They're filming that. Does it do anything crazy, though? Ooh, it's going the other way now. And now he's coming back. They really seem to like to go back and forth. Okay, I'm not really sure what we're looking at in this one. Let's just see if we can zoom in, or, you know... Oh, there we go. Now it's back. Sorry, I wanted to skip in and see if it got more interesting. Okay. It's just floating around. Is it going to do anything else, though? Okay, I'm going to skip in a little bit more because I want to see if this thing is going to actually do anything, and this is kind of a long clip. Or we're just going to be tracking the object. It's also hard to tell, like, what... I know that I can tell the backdrop is clearly the ocean, and those are waves. So this thing is over the open ocean, but I can't really tell, like, I mean, what it is. Clearly, whatever it is flying lower to the ocean than what the drone that's filming it. So I don't know. This is pretty well. Oh, wait, what's it doing? Man, I really wish they would have just released 4K footage of this so we could actually see what it was that was being filmed. Well, is there going to be anything else here? Anything else? Oh, is it doing something? Is it going to take off now? And it left the frame. Oh, it came back. That's kind of... Okay. I would love to know just how fast this thing is moving. It's hard to tell, because, like, you can't really gauge the speed based on what you're seeing in this footage. You can definitely tell they're moving over the water, but, like, oh man, we stopped, so that's about how fast it's moving. Alright. That's relatively quick, it just kind of took off. That's very interesting. Is there anything else with the thing, or are we done? Okay, I guess that's all of it. Okay. There's another video here. Is this the same one? Is it short? Yeah, it just zips across right over the boat. Okay. What the heck is that? What? Come on, computer. No! Oh my god, no. I did not mean to do that. Stop it. I don't want to download. Okay, mission reports. This is a lot of stuff to read over, man. There's a lot of papers. What do we got here? Africa? Where is... What are we looking at? Guys, I don't know what we're supposed to be looking at here. If you could point it out and tell me, then let me know in the comments, because I have no idea. We got more videos. This is over Greece. Again, is this the same one from earlier? Or is this a different one? Check that out. We're getting closer to it. Oh, it looks... Yeah, it's the one that people were talking about. It looks like a jellyfish. This does look like a jellyfish. Okay, that's good that's crazy. That's kind of crazy footage. These jellyfish UFOs have been spotted, like, a lot, apparently. And I'd love to know what the heck they are. So, hopefully we get some, like, actual 4K footage of it, because there was some footage that was released a long time ago by Jeremy Corbell of this jellyfish-type UFO stuff, where one was, like, very clearly seen on the FLIR thermal footage. And that one sparked a lot of debate. You got a lot more detail in that footage of whatever we were looking at that looked like a jellyfish than you do here. But yeah, clearly whatever this thing is, it's interesting. All right, I guess that's the end of that. God, there is a lot of stuff. If you guys want to see more of it, maybe we'll do a stream or something, or we'll go over all this stuff in a different video. There is a lot here to look at. So, if you guys are interested in that, obviously, we could do that in the future. With that being said, I think this video is already pretty long, so I think I'm going to call it here. I appreciate it if you watched this far, and hope you guys stuck around, and hopefully you guys have a little more insight on this topic. There is a lot to go over, and as I said, we will definitely be covering it as it drops. So, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, tap the bell, so that way you guys actually see the videos when it comes out. And please also press that like button. Apparently it matters now. So if you guys could smash like on the video, it would definitely help it out. Anyway, I hope to see you guys again in the next one. Peace.